You ever think about what it takes to build something truly massive? I mean, a project that demands everything you've got, but with absolutely no guarantee it's going to work out? Well, today, we're diving into the architecture of that kind of commitment, the kind of unwavering faith you need to see a vision through to the very, very end.
Just let that question hang in the air for a second. Imagine pouring your heart and soul into something for years, maybe even decades, and the whole time to everyone else, and maybe even to yourself on your worst days, it looks like a complete and utter failure. What on earth keeps a person going when all the evidence says stop? That's the real puzzle we're tackling today.
So, to really get our heads around this, we're going to look at a classic story as our case study, Noah's Ark. Now, whatever your beliefs are, just look at it as a profound psychological challenge. Here's a guy who's handed an unseen blueprint for a project that, let's be honest, makes zero sense. He has to build for a future nobody else can see, all based on a promise. It's the ultimate test of acting without proof.
And you know, there's actually a name for this. It's called radical trust. This isn't just wishful thinking. No, it's an active, hands-on commitment to a vision before there's a single shred of tangible evidence that you're not crazy. You see this in entrepreneurs with game-changing ideas, scientists pushing against the status quo, or artists creating something the world isn't even ready for yet. That is radical trust.
Okay, so you've got the vision. You've got this radical trust. Now what? Well, this is the moment where so many incredible ideas just fizzle out. It's that huge gap between the dream and the actual doing. It's the moment you have to take this grand, beautiful blueprint and turn it into the first swing of a hammer. It's when the dream starts demanding sweat. And in this story, the work took 100 years. Just think about that number. A century. That's not a project. That's your entire life's work, and then some. An entire lifetime dedicated to one single task, with no promotions, no quarterly reviews, no one patting you on the back. Just work. So how in the world do you even start a 100-year journey? Well, it really seems to boil down to three things. First, you have to fully 100% accept the vision. It has to become your reality. Second, you got to do the practical stuff, right? Go get the wood. And third, and this one's huge, you have to make that first cut. That's the point of no return. So, you've made the first cut, and that's when you enter the hardest part of all, the long, silent middle. This is the real test, you know? Most big, ambitious projects don't fail because of a bad start. They die a slow death in those quiet, grinding years where you're working your tail off without any sign that it's actually working. I mean, can you imagine the mental toughness this took? You finish your first decade of work, you look up at the sky, and it's perfectly blue. So you get back to work. Another 20 years go by. Same thing, clear skies. The real challenge here wasn't some big dramatic storm. It was the opposite. It was the crushing, sunny, relentless monotony of a world that was giving you zero feedback that your work mattered at all. And during all that time, the pressure must have been just immense. You've got your neighbors, your friends, probably pointing and laughing, right? Hey, what's with the giant boat, Noah? We're miles from the sea. And then there's the internal battle, that voice in your head whispering, am I totally nuts? Did I just waste my life? The only way through is to stop looking for progress and start trusting the process itself.
But here's the twist. What if we're looking at this all wrong? What if the giant boat wasn't the only thing being built? What if the daily labor, the constant fight against doubt, the discipline when no one was watching? What if that was the real construction project? The process wasn't just building an ark, it was forging a person.
So you see, there were really two things being built at the same time. You had the physical ark, right, that was made from a blueprint using wood and a whole lot of labor, but at the exact same time, an internal structure, faith, was being built. Its blueprint was a promise, its foundation was trust, and its labor was discipline. The one couldn't exist without the other.
After 100 years of silence, 100 years of trusting, 100 years of building, it happened. The validation finally arrived. Or was it? Think about it. Was the real challenge surviving the flood? Or was the real test surviving a century of perfect weather? The story's climax? Yeah, it's the rain. But the character, the strength, the entire point of the project, that was all forged in the decades of sun and silence that came before.
And that, of course, brings this whole thing right back to us, to you. What's your ark? What's that big, crazy project you're building in the middle of your own desert? A business, a skill, a relationship, a personal change? What are you building that requires you to just keep hammering away on faith alone?
Because in the end, the physical thing you're building is almost secondary. The real point of any of these long, hard journeys is to build an internal conviction, a kind of trust and discipline that's strong enough to get you through all those years of silence. The real goal is to build a faith that can float.
So I'll just leave you with this to think about. What's the unseen blueprint that you're following in your own life? What's the arc you were building day in and day out, trusting the process long before you see any sign of rain? Because that is the true architecture of faith.